Hi everyone, coming in to talk a little bit about why I don't take Cymbalta. So I took Cymbalta for 2 years, and I was originally given, this was the only med I was offered for fibro pain and the chronic fatigue and everything, which is strange. Dog crawling around. Which is strange because it actually ended up making the fatigue worse. But so, reading off my little cheat sheet here, looking back on it, the first month was really horrible. I had to figure out kind of how to deal with introducing this medication into my system, which was, stop, what are you doing? Which was really interesting because I had never taken a med like that before. I'd never taken any medications, and I was given Cymbalta and prednisone. And the prednisone made my face blow up like a balloon, and I looked crazy for a little while, but that actually did really help. And the Cymbalta I thought helped at first, and then over the course of 2 years, I figured out that it just was making me a lot worse, and especially after stopping it, I do feel a lot better. So yeah, introducing that into my system really sucked. I had a lot of vertigo, and I was always dizzy. And this lasted for almost a month and a half. Lots of vertigo. Things didn't quite feel real. It was like I was in a dream every day. That was really strange, but my pain was better. And I went to the doctor, obviously, because I was having a huge flare-up, and that's normally when we tend to go to the doctor. So the worst of our symptoms are being treated, and that's not the fault of the doctor, obviously. That's us coming when we are desperate and we have nowhere else to go. So under those circumstances, maybe it would have been different for me if I had flare-up level pain all the time. I just don't. So the things that really mess with me are you can't miss one dose, and it seems silly to say that because obviously when you know you're put on a drug you're supposed to take every day, you take it every day. But Cymbalta destroyed my memory. I had to use GPS to get around the city I lived in because I couldn't remember how to get places, and that was really terrifying for me. The fact that I couldn't remember my own birthday at one point, I mean, things were getting pretty rough. I couldn't remember really just very simple things about where I had put things in my home. I couldn't remember where I would leave my car. If I went anywhere, I would have to take pictures of things like that. Completely destroyed my memory. And I had just started school shortly after I was put on this, and then I, finished that and then went back into school, and it was kind of miserable trying to remember things that, were vital to what I needed for my degree, on top of stupid things like, how do I get back home from here? Or how do I get to a store that I've gone to a million times in my past? So yeah, it completely destroyed my memory, and that's not just something that I've been through. If you look online, that is something that a lot of people have actually been through, and that's incredibly unfortunate. But again, I guess if you're having what was my flare level pain all the time, I'm sure that it might actually be worth it to go through that just to have some relief. So I will say that the overall symptoms that I have every day, it didn't fix. I have little cigarette burn pains is what I've always called them. It feels like someone is stabbing a lit cigarette out on just random parts of my body. It can be on my face, on my arms, on my stomach, anywhere. And those suck pretty bad, but I get used to them, and I don't really notice them anymore, but I will like rub the area and just kind of go on with life, and that's fine. So it doesn't take care of things like that. It doesn't take care of like the kind of stiffness and achiness in joints that I feel. It never took care of any of that. It was good for preventing flares, I guess, and like got you to a base level where I guess you weren't as susceptible to having flares. And then also I can say that it did, it made my nerves less reactive, if that's how you want to say it. I wasn't, so now that I'm not taking it, I can't, you know, I can't touch myself, no one can touch me too light or it is excruciating. And I know that sounds completely stupid, but I can't, it's like needles just scratching down my skin. I can't handle it. So that is really horrible now that the Cymbalta did actually take care of, which I appreciate. But yeah, the memory thing, I couldn't handle. And then missing a dose put me in the most miserable pain ever. It was far worse than flare pain before taking Cymbalta. It was horrible. And then coming off of Cymbalta was like that every day for almost 2 months. I just don't recommend it. If you are having a flare like I was and you have been offered this drug, and you feel like really you don't have anywhere else to go, and a lot of the times doctors don't really give you the options, they just tell you this is what we can do for you and that's how we're going to proceed. So if that's what you've been given and you are miserable, and acetaminophen and tramadol and all the narcotics in the world are not helping you, I do think this can help, but I don't think it is a long-term solution, unfortunately, because the further, I thought it was like a miracle drug when I got over the hump of introducing it into my system. I felt great. And I felt like I had all this energy and everything was okay, and then it slowly crashed and I felt like shit every day. So I stopped taking it, and I did that on my own, actually. And I've seen people online who were cracking them open and taking like single grains out of them and like decreasing that by like 2 grains a day or something. I didn't do any of that. I don't recommend going off of anything cold turkey, especially being in the medical field. I know better. I knew better. I shouldn't have done it, but I did because I was sick of doctors telling me that they wanted to give me narcotics, but not any more testing and not any help. So I just completely came off of it, which was a little big-headed on my part, I guess. So yeah, like I said, if it's the only thing you've been given and it's your first kind of rodeo with the medication, I think it's a great idea for maybe a year, but I was only on it for 2 years and I hated it at the end. It made me feel miserable. So I think it's great to kind of get you off of that, but then just like taking prednisone is really great at first, and then if you take it for a long time, it's probably really not the best idea. So I think, you know, if you're having problems that haven't been taken care of by things like Lyrica or whatever other drugs they're giving people now, I wouldn't go to Cymbalta if you're already going through a drug regimen and it stopped working for you, because this is going to do the same thing. It's not something, unless you are almost bedbound every day, it's not something I would ever recommend or even look into. The memory problems alone were just horrifying for me. I would really have to think about the name of the man I live with in this house. I couldn't remember his name. I mean, that's a big deal. So it really, I thought it was becoming detrimental to my health. So I stopped, and that's why I won't be taking it. I don't recommend it. And I've had people, for the most part, hear that I was taking it, and they thought, wow. And they would tell me, wow, you know, when I took that, I felt like a zombie, and it turned me into a totally different person. I didn't have that. I don't think I had that. I felt okay, but it just, the chronic exhaustion, and I felt like it made me more tired over time. But at first, when I started taking it, like I said, I felt wonderful, and I thought it was a miracle drug, and I thought it was gonna be all of my answers to fibro pain, but it wasn't. Also, I'm huge now. I was, let's see, I was probably 140, and now I'm 180. 180 pounds at 5'5". It's kind of chunky. 140 was the heaviest I'd ever been, and that was because I was starting to get more pain, and I wasn't being active because I couldn't, because I was in pain. And yeah, so that is one of the things that online they say there's no proven science behind it making people gain weight. Bullshit. It made me gain weight. Anybody I've ever met who's taken it, they gained weight. So obviously there are things that aren't in the medication description that we get. And that's one of the things that I unfortunately got, is this lovely round face, and the rest of me got a little more plump. So, you know, if, again, like I said, if you're looking into Cymbalta and you've already taken meds, don't. If it's your first try, you know, it might be worth it. It might make you feel better, and then you're gonna have the energy and ability to look into your condition more and how to, you know, treat what you've got going on a little better. So, and I know this seems a little rambly. It's actually really yucky outside right now, so I'm combating a little bit of what we're talking about, but yeah, I think as far as Cymbalta goes, I don't recommend anyone doing it, but if it's your only hope, might as well give it a try.